What's up, everyone, and welcome back to New Release Reactions here on Cinematic Reviews. I'm your host, Chris, and this is the show about all things movie and TV. Every week, I break down and review the newest releases like The Flash, beloved franchises, and even upcoming projects like the DC Universe. You can support the show by hitting that follow button on your favorite podcast network, as well as following the show on all social media platforms. All of those handles can be found on either the Cinematic Reviews Facebook page or the show's website at podpage.com/Cinematic Reviews. It helps out a lot, and I really do appreciate all the love and support out there from everyone. Let's kick the episode off with this week's new release report. Welcome back to the new release report here on Cinematic Reviews. Streaming now on Netflix, we have Extraction 2, starring Chris Hemsworth, Black Mirror Season 6, which consists of 5 brand new episodes of the anthology series, and then Arnold, the documentary about the life and career of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Streaming now on Disney Plus, we have Flamin' Hot. This is the movie based on the creation of the popular chip, Flaming Hot Cheetos. And then Marvel's Secret Invasion will premiere on June 21st. Over on Peacock, Renfield, starring Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage, is now streaming. And then coming to Prime Video is Jack Ryan, 4th and final season, will premiere on June 30th. Over on Apple TV Plus, Silo, starring Rebecca Ferguson, The Crowded Room, starring Tom Holland, and then Platonic, starring Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne, are all streaming now. New episodes of those arrive weekly. And then in theaters, we have The Flash, which I'll be talking about in just a few moments, along with Disney's Pixar's Elemental, Transformers, Rise of the Beasts, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Looking ahead, No Hard Feelings, starring Jennifer Lawrence, and Wes Anderson's Asteroid City will arrive later this week on June 23rd. Then we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny arriving on June 30th, followed by Insidious, The Red Door on July 7th, and then Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 will finally arrive in theaters on July 12th. Well, that's this week's new release report. Tune in next time for some more updates on what's streaming and in theaters. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. The Flash is speeding your way.
Oh my God! Flash!
Hi.
I love you!
Thank you.
Patching you into Mr. Wayne.
No, please don't.
I need you here now, Barry.
So you're saying you could travel back in time?
But Bruce, I can fix things. I could save people. I could save my mom. I could save your parents.
You can also destroy everything.
Love you, Mom. I love you too.
So how was it this week? How's school?
School was good. Oh, this is mad trippy. Dude, this is catastrophic.
This world must die.
I'm not gonna lose her again. It's not Clark.
My name is Kara. I will help you.
Interesting group. Want some help?
Wait, he's Batman?
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Oh, this rips! We're in uncharted territory. Batman, what do we do?
We try not to die.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Let's go.
You have fancy friends.
No, it was an Uber. Oh, exec.
The Flash was finally released this past weekend on June 16th. The film stars Ezra Miller as Barry Allen / Flash, Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne / Batman, Sasha Cale as Kara, aka Supergirl, and then Michael Keaton returning as Bruce Wayne / Batman. The film was directed by Andy Muschietti, who is best known for directing Mama, both the latest It films, and then, of course, The Flash. Michael Shannon was hesitant to return as General Zod after the circumstances around Zack Snyder's exit from the franchise. He finally agreed to reprise the role after receiving Zack Snyder's blessing. The film was announced in 2014 and then finally released this year on 2023. All seasons of the Flash TV series actually spanned from 2014 to this year, 2023. Tom Cruise was one of the first people to see a copy of the film. He loved it so much that he called Andy Muschietti and congratulated him personally. James Wan was offered to direct either a Aquaman or Flash movie. He ultimately chose Aquaman. The DCEU was scrapped in 2022. James Gunn, who took over the universe, has stated that The Flash and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will serve as soft reboots for the new universe called DC Universe. Any other DC film / show that occurs outside of this new timeline will be part of DC Elseworlds. This includes Robert Pattinson's The Batman. Ray Fisher's Cyborg was written out of the film after he was presenting allegations against the studio. There have been a number of people attached to direct this film throughout the years. Robert Zemeckis, Matthew Vaughn, Mark Webb, and Sam Raimi were all frontrunners at one point. Greg Bertolotti was also in the running, but ended up going on to develop the Flash series instead. David S. Goyer was attached at one point with Ryan Reynolds as Barry Allen. Sean Levy with the Wally West Flash being featured in his potential adaptation of The Flash. And then Rick Famuyiwa, who is best known for the Mandalorian series, was also attached to direct at one point. Chris Pine, Scott Porter, Matthew Fox, and Bradley Cooper were once linked to the role of Barry Allen / The Flash before Ezra Miller was then cast. Julia Roberts, Julianne Moore, Vera Farmiga, Hilary Swank, and even Kate Winslet were all considered for the role of Nora Allen in the film. The film was released during the 10th anniversary of Man of Steel. This is the 13th film in the DC Extended Universe. And then lastly, Rob Lowe was approached to play a villain in the film, but he ultimately was not in it. So The Flash is finally here. Fans finally got to see the Flash movie that has been in development for nearly a decade now. The internet has been flooding with positive reviews the last couple of months. Like I mentioned in the facts segment, even Tom Cruise was one of the first to see it. Henry Cavill has even made his statement on seeing the film as well, leading up to its premiere. I'm here to tell you that it was one of the best theater experiences I have ever had, but it is not the greatest superhero movie ever, as a lot of these reviews have been saying. It actually has a lot of flaws in it, like most of the DC Extended Universe. The biggest flaw is the CGI. Most of the CGI is pretty bad in this film. I was really surprised by that. I also don't agree with a couple of changes that they made for this film in regards to the comic book that it is based on. I still had a blast watching this film, though, with my family. I went in with very, very low expectations, and it helped a lot, honestly. I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed this film walking out of the theater. Now, in order to give my full review, I'm going to be spoiling quite a bit. So from here on out, we're in full spoiler territory. If you haven't seen the film, pause the episode right here. Go to your local theater and check out the film, and then come back to hear the rest of the reaction episode. So this film is based on Flashpoint, one of the most famous comic book stories. It sees Barry Allen, aka The Flash, going back in time to prevent the death of his mother and the wrongful imprisonment of his father for her murder. The film sticks to that part of the comic book pretty well. Watching Barry's mom bleed out on the kitchen floor was incredible to watch as a huge fan of that comic series. Barry loses his powers in the new reality, which forces him to recreate the lightning strike that gave him his powers in the first place, just like the comic. Now, the Batman part is very different. In the comic, the Batman in Flashpoint is Thomas Wayne, the father of Bruce. Bruce, in the reality that Barry creates during Flashpoint, dies in the alley instead of his parents. This forces Thomas Wayne to become a very, very violent Batman, and Bruce's mom, Martha, to become the Joker in that reality. The film, however, sees Michael Keaton as the new reality's Batman. I love Michael Keaton in the film, but it's really unfortunate that we didn't get Thomas Wayne as Batman. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, of course, played Thomas Wayne in Batman v Superman. How awesome would that have been to see him play a Flashpoint Batman? But like I said, though, Keaton was still really, really incredible in this film. One of the best parts of the film, actually. He's a 70-year-old Bruce who lost his Alfred and hung up his cape. Barry is able to then convince him, though, to put the cowl back on one last time to help him kind of reverse everything that he's done. Along with Keaton, Barry also teams up with Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl, and the new reality's Barry Allen. Barry 2, as I'll call him, doesn't have powers because this new reality is without metahumans. Barry 1, which is I guess we could call him the Prime Barry, helps Barry 2 get powers from the lightning strike. However, Barry 1 ends up losing his powers in the process. I love the scene where Barry 1 tries to run fast, but is just running around at normal speed. I laughed out loud during that whole bit. It was so funny. Another great sequence is when Keaton and both Barrys have to go to Siberia, I believe it was, to save Superman, except it's not Clark. It's his cousin Kara, aka Supergirl. In this reality, Clark never made it to Earth. It's actually revealed later on in the movie that Zod intercepted his ship before he entered Earth's atmosphere and ultimately killed him through the experiment of extracting the Codex. If you remember from Man of Steel, the Codex was embedded into Clark's DNA. Kara did, however, make it to Earth, but she was captured once her ship landed. Keaton was a total badass in this film, especially during this prison break sequence in Siberia. I love his fight style in the film. He has a bulletproof suit, just like Ben Affleck, and he uses a lot of gadgets like Batman would. It was really, really awesome to see that. Once they save Supergirl, Barry 1 convinces Keaton to help him recreate the lightning strike that gave him his powers. It was very similar to the comic book and the animated film Flashpoint, except it's Michael Keaton's Batman instead of Thomas Wayne's Batman, like I said. It was still really awesome, though, to see it on the big screen as a huge fan of the Flashpoint story. That's the biggest takeaway I had from this film overall. There are a lot of moments in the film that just did justice to the comic book and that animated movie Flashpoint, which I think is the best DC animated film out there, next to probably Under the Red Hood, which is freaking fantastic. Now, once Barry 1 gets his powers back, the team goes out to take down General Zod, who is played once again by Michael Shannon. A lot of the film takes place during the events of Man of Steel, which I think makes a lot of sense. Man of Steel kicked off the DCEU, and The Flash is sort of rebooting the DC universe, as well as, like I said in the facts segment, this is releasing in the 10th year of Man of Steel, so it all makes perfect sense to have Man of Steel being kind of the focal point of this new reality. Michael Shannon was incredible in Man of Steel. Not so much in this Flash film, unfortunately. The battle against Zod and his goons was pretty awesome, though. We get Supergirl fighting Zod, while Keaton and the two Barrys fight everybody else. Barry 2's suit was pretty ridiculous, though. I remember my brother leaning over to me during the film and just really emphasizing that this suit is ugly and ridiculous. He took one of Keaton's Batman suits and redesigned it as his Flash suit. There's one callback to Batman Returns, actually, which I cracked up a lot. In Keaton's Batwing, Barry 2 turns his head towards Barry 1 to show that the mask is way too big for his face. This was an obvious callback to the running joke about how the cowl never quite fit Keaton's head right in both Batman 89 and Batman Returns. So I thought that was pretty funny. One more moment I wanted to touch on was the reveal of the mysterious figure that had been following Barry 1 around through the Speed Force. Turns out it was actually Barry too. He has been trying to save Batman and Supergirl from dying for decades now. There's this concept called fixed points. Batman and Supergirl dying in this reality is considered a fixed point, meaning it can't be stopped no matter how many times Barry goes back in time. This makes Barry 1 realize that he has to undo what he has done. He has to prevent Flashpoint from happening. That's not the biggest takeaway from this sequence, though. This sequence is a giant cameo fest. Before Barry 1 has his realization of going back and undoing what he did with his mom, numerous realities are revealed to be colliding into one another. I jotted down the universes that showed up. So we see Christopher Reeves flying around as Superman. And then towards the end of that little sequence, Helen Slater comes up next to him as Supergirl. Growing up, watching Christopher Reeves as Superman, this was a very awesome and emotional scene for me as a fan of Christopher Reeves as Superman. I'm not so connected to Helen Slater as Supergirl. I saw a little bit of her growing up, but mainly this part of the cameo fest was a really big Christopher Reeves moment for fans like me who grew up with him as Superman. We also see George Reeves as the original Superman. He was the very first Superman in live action. I don't really have the biggest connection with him either, but I do recognize him, and it was really, really cool to see him. I was not expecting that. We also get Teddy Sears as Jay Garrett, the Golden Age Flash. I have really no connection to him either, but that was cool to see the Jay Garrett version in the movie. One of the big ones for sure is Adam West as Batman, Burt Ward as Robin, and Cesar Romero as Joker. There's a point there where we see some footage from the 60s Batman TV series, which was awesome to see. Again, I grew up watching that show, and it was just really, really awesome to see Adam West not forgotten as Batman. It seems to be a running trend that a lot of people forget that Adam West was one of the first actors to bring Batman to live action. So it was really cool to get a reminder that he is a part of the Batman and DC lore. Now, the biggest one was probably the most confusing as well for some people. This to me was pretty awesome because I know the story behind it. So we get this shot of Nicolas Cage as Superman fighting this giant spider. So originally, Nicolas Cage was basically cast, suited, and ready to go to play Superman in what they call Superman. Can't remember what it is. Maybe it was Superman Legacy or something like that. No, I think that's James Cameron. I don't remember. I'd have to look up the name of the movie. But he was set to play Superman at one point. He had the long black hair. He had the bright blue and red suit. And he was going to battle this giant alien spider in the film. At the very last second, it was scrapped. And then we ended up getting Brandon Routh's Superman Returns film instead years later. But seeing Nicolas Cage as Superman and what he would have been like in a Superman movie was really, really cool. I was not expecting to see that. It was kind of random, and I think a lot of people in my theater was a little bit confused. I had to kind of explain it to my brothers and my dad and everyone around me what this scene meant. But for me, knowing the story behind that was mind blowing that they put this in here as a cameo in a Flash movie. So that was really wild to see. This whole cameo fest sequence that I was talking about is one of two really bad CGI sequences in the film. This entire part of universes colliding with one another was created in this AI CGI combo tech thing. It just looked really off to me. I mean, it was awesome seeing, like I said, Christopher Reeves and Adam West and Nicolas Cage once again, especially Christopher Reeves flying around as Superman was really, really awesome. I just kind of wish they did it in a different way. It looked really off to me, and I think they really wanted you to get caught up in the emotions of seeing these characters on screen. But I was unable to get past this really bad CGI that they decided to use in the Speed Force. Now, the other really bad sequence was the quote-unquote baby shower scene at the beginning of the film. This was freaking ridiculous. I laughed out loud during most of the sequence because it's so ridiculous and stupid. So the maternity ward of a hospital in Gotham is collapsing, causing a bunch of babies and the nurse caring for them to fly out a window. Barry must save all of them before they fall to their deaths. This sequence was an obvious answer to the Quicksilver scenes that we saw in the X-Men films. Those were obviously done way better. What they did with Evan Peters as Quicksilver in those sequences was fantastic. The CGI in this Flash sequence was really, really bad. This whole entire opening of the film was just super, super ridiculous. And it's really unfortunate that this was the kickoff for the Flash movie. Now, I may seem really down on this film, but I stand by my previous statement. This was one of the best theater experiences I've ever had. My one brother who was with me is the biggest Flash fan that I know. He has been waiting 26 years for his Flash movie, and he has finally gotten his wish. My other brother has become a huge Flash fan as well, thanks to the Flash series on the CW. I personally have been a huge Flash fan ever since I first read the Flashpoint comic. It was actually one of the first comic books I ever read as a kid. Seeing this film in the theater was a big moment, and I got to see it with my family, which is going to go down as one of the best experiences ever. On top of that, there were a lot of awesome parts in this film that made it an incredible theater-going experience. Ezra Miller was awesome in the film. For those that don't know or have forgotten, Ezra has been in a lot of legal trouble the last few years. For a while, it seemed like WB might actually trash the film over all of that stuff that was going on, but they spent too much time and money making this movie, so WB committed to releasing it in theaters, and they did it. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Ezra, honestly. I was actually kind of against the decision to have Ezra play the Flash, but Ezra is actually really good in this film. Ezra had to play two different versions of Barry throughout the film, and it was executed very, very well. I was really surprised by how much I walked out of the theater enjoying Ezra's performance as Barry. Keaton, like I keep saying, was freaking awesome in the film. Seeing him put the Batman suit on again was incredible. I grew up with his Batman, so I felt like a kid again watching him beat the crap out of bad guys in the theater. I haven't talked much about Sasha Cale's Supergirl, but she was great as well. I really liked her take on the character. The suit that her Supergirl wears is really awesome. It's very, very similar to Henry Cavill's Superman suit. I actually hope she gets the chance to play Kara again. I would love to see her jump back into the suit again. Maybe in her own movie or maybe as a cameo or some sort. But I just really liked what she did with the Supergirl character. There were two other cameos that I wanted to touch on before I move on to the DCU rankings. First, we have Gal Gadot returning as Wonder Woman for a very, very hot second at the beginning of the film. That's pretty much been her role in DC right now. She just kind of pops up for 2 seconds and then leaves. We previously saw her show up at the end of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I honestly hope she returns in James Gunn's DC universe. She is fantastic as Wonder Woman. The cameo that probably blew my mind the most, and probably everyone else, was George freaking Clooney showing up as Bruce Wayne. So when Barry 1 unsaved his mom, and it created a reality where George Clooney is Batman and not Ben Affleck's anymore, I was shocked by this cameo because Clooney has publicly pretty much denounced his take on Batman. He vowed to never put on the suit again and apologizes all the time for Batman and Robin. I'm just really shocked that this actually happened. It completely blew my mind in the theater. It blew my mind more than the Nicolas Cage cameo as Superman. I can't believe they actually got George Clooney to come back as Bruce Wayne. He was looking pretty good too. He was rocking the white hair, the white beard. He had the car. He had the suit. It was just mind blowing that they actually got George Clooney to come back as Bruce Wayne. So let's move on to the DCEU universe rankings, and let's rank the Flash against the rest of the franchise. So this is going to be a pretty tough ranking here. I've been looking at this list the last couple of days, and I honestly have no idea where I'm going to rank this. So to review what the rankings are sitting at right now, at number 1, we have Zack Snyder's Justice League. 2, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. Number 3, Man of Steel, followed by Shazam. The Suicide Squad at number 5, Birds of Prey at number 6, Wonder Woman at 7, Shazam: Fury of the Gods at 8, Black Adam at 9, Peacemaker at 10, 11 we have Aquaman, followed by Suicide Squad at 12, and then sitting at the bottom at 13 is Wonder Woman 1984. So I guess let's find a start point here. It's better than Wonder Woman 84, Suicide Squad, Aquaman, Peacemaker, Black Adam. So it's at least going to go to number 9. It's better than Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Now this is the question. Is it better than the first Wonder Woman movie? And there's a lot of issues I had with Wonder Woman. If you've listened to the DC season that I did a while back, just had a really, really big issue with the third act of that film and then the villain. But Gal Gadot is so good as Wonder Woman, and I love her chemistry with Chris Pine in there as Steve Trevor. Oh man, this is tough. I think I'm going to go above Wonder Woman. Then that brings it to Birds of Prey and the Suicide Squad. Birds of Prey, I'm a little warmer on now. When it first came out, I was pretty disappointed in it. I was not in it at all, even though Margot Robbie is fantastic as Harley Quinn. Then the Suicide Squad from James Gunn has really cool elements of it. Wasn't a huge fan of John Cena and some of the other cast in there. Idris Elba is pretty good in there. Sylvester Stallone voicing King Shark was funny. Oh man, where to put this? I'm gonna put it. Man, this is really tough. Now, is it better than the first Shazam movie? There again, I had an issue with the villain, and the third act kind of falls apart as well. That's a big thing with these DC movies, is like the third act is pretty stale, and the villains aren't quite the best. The villain in The Flash wasn't the greatest either. I mean, Michael Shannon kind of phoned it in a little bit, and then the whole twist with the mysterious speedster and the Speed Force being Barry 2 was cool. If you've seen the Flash series, they actually did this similar story like they did in this Flash movie in season 3 with Savitar, who is a version of Barry that is from the Speed Force, and he has to be in this Savitar suit in order to get his speed. So they kind of took elements of that show as well into this movie, which was cool. I think season 3 is probably the best season of that show. I haven't seen the final season yet of the series, but I still stand by season 3 being the best, which they clearly took elements of that as well. It put it into the Flash movie, which I loved. Oh, man. Is it the Flash? Is it better than Shazam? That's where I'm stuck at. It's this spot right here with Birds of Prey, the Suicide Squad, and Shazam. It's because I like elements of all 3 of these movies, but there are also parts of it that I just really, really don't like. The thing with the Flash movie is the CGI is really holding me back, but there's parts in there that I just absolutely love, and I cracked up more than I did Birds of Prey and the Suicide Squad, which were and I guess Shazam as well, they were more comedy driven than some of these other DC films. I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to put The Flash as the new number 4. Right below Man of Steel. I'm going to commit to it. I think that is the right spot for it. So let me move The Flash right below Man of Steel. All right. So there it is. Zack Snyder's Justice League, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Man of Steel, and then The Flash at number 4. I am going to rank it. I'm going to go 8 out of 10. I'm a little bit higher on it than a lot of people are. If you go into IMDb, which I am reading off of here, it's sitting at a 7.4 out of 10 stars. I'm going to rank it as a number 8. There's just a lot of awesome stuff in here. Like I said, Ezra Miller is actually surprisingly really good in there. I like what he brought to the Barry character in this Flash. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, he's kind of a side character in there. But in this movie, he is at the forefront, and I think they did a really, really good job with the Barry character. But yeah, so that is the new DCEU rankings. Zack Snyder's Justice League at 1, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice at 2, Man of Steel at 3, The Flash at 4, Shazam at 5, The Suicide Squad at 6, Birds of Prey at 7, Wonder Woman at 8, Shazam! Fury of the Gods at 9, Black Adam at 10, Peacemaker at 11, Aquaman at 12, Suicide Squad at 13, and then at 14 at Wonder Woman 1984. We returned back to this list when Aquaman comes out. Blue Beetle, and I'll talk about Blue Beetle in a second, but that I don't think is part of the DCEU universe. So that will probably not hit this list. I will probably create a separate DC Universe list once that comes out. But Aquaman is still kind of in this extended universe, so that'll get ranked against this, and that'll probably be the last one on this list. From after that point, I will just go off of the DC Universe list. Because James Gunn, as you probably know, is rebooting the universe with a Superman film. And that is what I will talk about after this quick break. Check out the Transformers season going on right now. Every week I break down and review every film in the Transformers franchise. I talk about standout scenes, favorite quotes, and of course, rank each installment. Join me in a battle for Earth during the Transformers season today on Cinematic Reviews. On the next new release reactions episode, it's another double feature. I'll be reacting to both No Hard Feelings, starring Jennifer Lawrence, and Wes Anderson's Asteroid City, which both arrive in theaters on June 23rd. Check out new release reactions every week, only on Cinematic Reviews. So to end today's episode, I wanted to go over my thoughts on what the future holds for DC. So coming up next, we have Blue Beetle arriving on August 18th. This is a kind of newer character to DC. He has been associated with the Teen Titans a lot. This is about a Mexican teen who becomes the host of its symbiotic device that gives him a suit of armor that is capable of pretty much creating whatever he wants. It's kind of in the trailer, which was dropped a little while ago, kind of makes it seem like this is a version of Iron Man, I guess you could say, except that the device that he's wearing is very symbiotic. It's alien tech, and I'm sure that we will get some more emphasis on what exactly this device came from. But the trailer looks very, very promising. I'm excited to see this film. I'm not a huge Blue Beetle fan, but it's a character that I am pretty familiar with. Like I said, he he has been a part of the Teen Titans, and I think that his powers are pretty cool. The trailer showed that he can pretty much create whatever he wants through the suit, and I think we're in for a wild ride with Blue Beetle coming on August 18th. And then after that, on December 20th, we have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. This, of course, is a sequel to 2018's Aquaman. I'm a little more lower on this one, just like I was with The Flash. I was not very, very high on Aquaman. If you revert back to my rankings, Aquaman is pretty low on that list, and that is why I'm pretty low on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I am excited to see what they do with Jason Momoa's Arthur Curry, though. This seems to be another soft reboot for James Gunn's DC Universe. There have been rumors that Momoa will come back as Aquaman, that he will be put into a different role in James Gunn Universe. We are not exactly sure what's going on with Aquaman and Jason Momoa, but I'm still looking forward to finally seeing this movie being released. I will be going opening weekend for sure, like I do with all these movies, and we'll be doing a reaction episode on it for sure, just like Blue Beetle. Also, what's coming out is the Batman sequel. This is the sequel to Robert Pattinson's take on Batman. It is rumored to have Clayface and Harvey Dent as the villains of the story. Probably more focused on Clayface. The Joker, I gotta assume, is going to be saved for the third film. I think for right now, it is still a trilogy. I don't know if they have plans to go past the trilogy with Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson. But I guess if this trilogy makes a lot of money, I could see them, doing another couple of sequels to it. But for right now, it is set to be a trilogy. And I'm sure that they're going to save Joker for the last part of that trilogy. I'm super excited for this. I was a huge fan of the Batman movie when it came out. I actually did 2 episodes on it for this podcast, and we're definitely doing a reaction episode for the sequel as well. That is set to come out probably 2025, maybe even 2026 with this writer's strike going on. But for sure, it will not be coming in 2024. I think that is too soon. I would put my money on 2025 is when we will see the return of Robert Pattinson donning the cowl and cape. Also, we have another sequel coming out, and that is a sequel to The Joker. This will bring back Joaquin Phoenix as Joker, and then we'll see Lady Gaga making her debut as Harley Quinn in this universe. This is rumored to be a musical. I don't know if that has to do with just Lady Gaga being cast or if that's a real element in the script. I was not very high on the first Joker film, but when Lady Gaga was cast as Harley Quinn, I got really excited about this. I have been a huge fan of Lady Gaga's acting throughout the years, and I think she is going to nail this Harley Quinn role. Even though I do love Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, I'm very, very excited to see what Lady Gaga does with this character, and I'm really curious to see what they do with this sequel. So definitely be doing an episode on that as well. That will probably be coming out before the Batman sequel. I'm not sure. I think there's a release date for it, actually. Let me look it up here. So it is set to come out in 2024. It'll be directed by Todd Phillips once again. I'm really looking forward to this. We haven't seen a trailer yet. I would assume that a trailer will be coming out towards the back half of this year. We've seen some set photos of it, so we kind of have an idea of what Lady Gaga will look like as Harley Quinn. And then, of course, Joaquin as the Joker, which I don't think they will change him too much from the first film. But I am excited to see what they do with this sequel. And then I just wanted to give my thoughts on James Gunn and Peter Safran taking over to DC. James Gunn, of course, was the director of the Guardians films in Marvel. He, in between 2 and 3, he was fired by Marvel because of some past social media posts that he had done. Marvel then asked him to come back to finish the Guardians trilogy, and then at the same time, he was given the keys to the kingdom for DC along with Peter Safran. I'm really excited to see what James Gunn and Peter Safran do with this universe. I think James Gunn is a very capable director and writer. He has finished the script for the Superman Legacy movie, and he is set to direct it as well. I'm really curious to see his take on the Superman character, which will once again kick off this new universe, just like Man of Steel did back in 2013. I'm really, really, really excited. I have some hope for DC. There was a while, like a few years ago, where I'm like, DC is in the dumps. I'm not really liking what they're doing with these movies. But when James Gunn was hired to take over, I got really excited. I'm a huge fan of James Gunn. I think he's a very, very capable writer, director, creator. So I think DC is in really good hands now. Definitely better hands than I think Marvel is. Marvel is kind of in a really big slump right now with their Phase 4 and Phase 5 movies. Their schedule just got shifted way back because of writing and creative differences within the studio. But I think DC is going to make a huge statement with this Superman movie, and I'm super excited for that. As well as we have season 2 of Peacemaker being confirmed. We'll see John Cena returning as the Peacemaker character from the Suicide Squad movie. I was not a huge fan of season 1. Again, if you revert back to my rankings, it was pretty low on that list. I will be checking out season 2 just because it is DC related, and I am a huge DC fan, of course. But I really do not have any expectations or hopes for this Peacemaker character or show, but I will tune in for it. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is some of the other characters that could possibly be in the DC universe from James Gunn. I will guarantee that Batman will be showing up. James Gunn has mentioned that he would love to do his version of Batman. I doubt Ben Affleck or Michael Keaton or George Clooney or anybody else will be coming back for it. We're going to probably have 2 different Batmans going on. We'll have Robert Pattinson doing it in his universe, and then we'll have the James Gunn version. With them choosing a younger actor for Superman, I got to imagine they're going to do the same thing with Batman so that they can do 10 plus years with that actor. Who it is, I'm not exactly sure. There are a lot of actors who have been wanting to play Batman for decades. I know the biggest one was Jensen Ackles for a time. John Hamm has been attached. Armie Hammer has been attached, but I believe Armie Hammer has been pretty much kicked out of Hollywood, so his name will not be on that short list for Batman, of course. But I got to imagine that they're probably going to go for somebody younger, maybe someone 25 plus, just so that they can sign them a multi-movie contract for sure. Wonder Woman, as much as I would love Gal Gadot to come back, I'm not feeling very, very hopeful for that. It sounds like James Gunn is a huge fan of hers. So, I mean, fingers crossed that he decides to just carry Gal Gadot over. Green Lantern is on the books. For a while, it was a show. I'd have to look this up more. But it still might be a series. I know for a while there, it was going to be an HBO series until James Gunn and Safran took over. There again, I think we are probably going to see multiple Green Lanterns. Probably younger. I got to imagine we're going to see Hal Jordan and John Stewart for sure. But as far as James Gunn's version, I'm not exactly sure what to expect. He's been more focused on the Superman side of it because that is the first project of this universe. But I would put money on it that we would get multiple Green Lanterns just to kind of expand the universe a little bit. And then the Flash, will they bring back Ezra Miller? I doubt it. Again, Ezra has been dealing with a lot of personal and legal things outside of Hollywood. So I would not bank on Ezra Miller coming back as a Flash. I think that James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to just want to reboot the character and recast them. Who that may be, again, probably a younger actor. I love Grant Gustin in the Flash series. I would love to see him become the Flash in the movie world, but I highly doubt that. They'll probably just go with somebody totally different. We don't even know if they're going to do the Barry Allen version. They might do the Wally West version. They might do Jay Garrett. We don't exactly know for sure. That is all up to James Gunn and what he wants to do with the character. But again, I'm super excited about the future of DC with James Gunn and Peter Safran taking over. I think they're going to make a huge statement with Superman Legacy that will probably rival Marvel for sure. Well, that'll do it for this week's DC-filled reaction episode. Tune in next week for another double feature. I'll be reacting to No Hard Feelings and Asteroid City, which both arrive in theaters later this week on June 23rd. Also, check out the Transformers season going on right now. Next, I'll be breaking down and reviewing Transformers: The Last Knight. Later, everyone.